Even the early authorized tellings of Christianity give their stamp of approval to three men making their way from their desert parts of the world to find something special, something new, by reading the heavens, by following a star. Likely they were not readers of the Old Testament. It's safe to say that they might not have been privy to the writings of the prophet Isaiah and others who foretold the coming of the Messiah. All they knew was that something was up. A phenomenon in the sky that they had never seen before told them something was happening. Let's find out what's going on, they thought. So they followed a star on their quest of investigation, taking with them rare treasures because they knew that something that dramatic, something that out of the ordinary, that incredible, must herald the arrival of something or someone, and they wanted to be equipped to handle the encounter. The early church gave its seal of approval to that kind of stargazing, because the heavens were, after all, a part of original creation. People were simply looking at the signposts in the sky and reading those God-given, ever-changing combinations. It was their business. The signs in the heavens may have led these men of wealth and fame on their international search for the truth, but they also dictated the lives of common men and women. Crops were planted, marriages arranged, many key agreements made, decisions completed, all regarding the relationship of the planets. So here we are thousands of years later with a sky so muddied up that it's not worth watching, yet we continue to look up. Drive your car at night. I bet you'll at least notice the moon and some of the stars. It's part of our nature. Sadly, what we do see most nights is a kind of often cloudy status quo, with few, if any, deviations from the norm. But when there is something strange, different, or odd, we take notice. And when it is something we cannot identify, something that might move in an odd or too fast manner, then we really begin to think. With the enthusiasm of a grade school student, we find ourselves getting goosebumps as we try to ponder the imponderable. Our minds race with questions. What is it we're seeing? Is it something from out of this world? Are we actually seeing it? Should we tell anyone, or will we be branded a kook? In today's nearly invisible night sky, it takes something pretty dramatic to get our attention. And UFOs have become the deviations from the norm that have caused modern man to once again look to the stars. So time marched on, man multiplied and spread his cultures across the earth. Time progressed, man suffered through the Dark Ages and re-emerged only to face near destruction from the Black Plague. Then civilization rose smarter and wiser in the Renaissance. It was not until the 1600s that modern sky science as we know it today began to emerge. The telescope aided in that research. Printing made the findings available for scientists around the world. Then came the Industrial Revolution, the invention of the steam engine, the utilization of coal and oil, and suddenly man could not see the sky anymore. In just 2 generations, civilized man went from having an intimate relationship with the stars and the heavens to seldom seeing the stars, knowing little, caring little about the accumulated knowledge of men and women who live their lives in the constant shadow of the sky. And the fact that the sightings of what we now call UFOs began in relatively modern times after we muddied the sky with pollution shows that what people saw and reported had to be pretty credible and strange to have such an impact. Researchers going through old newspapers from the 1800s, particularly those from small towns, have found a wealth of stories that today we call UFO sightings. One of the most dramatic appeared in a major St. Louis newspaper just after the Civil War. Other papers picked up the story. A major paper in Cincinnati printed it. This sudden newspaper-driven publicity caused people all over the nation to start talking about the possibility of there being strange things in the sky. It was 1865. A Montana trapper claimed he saw a saucer-shaped object crash into a forest, causing a huge explosion. The incident happened in an extremely isolated area. The trapper reported seeing a, quote, luminous body in the heavens. He said it sped around with great velocity, suddenly crashing to the ground with a huge explosion that he said created what we today would call a shock wave. Also in the late 1800s, there was a major reported sighting in Venezuela. It was witnessed by a peasant family, but reported immediately to the local U.S. envoy, Warner Cowgill, who later recounted it in a letter to the academic publication Scientific American. In part, he wrote, October last, which was rainy and tempestuous, a family of 9 persons sleeping in a hut a few miles from Maracaibo was awakened by a loud humming noise and a vivid, dazzling light in the sky. The light was so bright that it fully illuminated the inside of their dwelling. The family, terror-stricken, reported to me that they thought the end of the world had come. The family began praying, but during prayers each became extremely ill, began to vomit, and go into mild convulsions. Then they noticed swellings on various parts of their bodies. They subsided but left black blotches, which I observed. Their home showed no signs of damage. Lightning had not struck the area. Additionally, all the family members agreed that during the incident they heard a humming sound. 9 days later, a circle of grass near the house suddenly withered and died. In 1897, police in 6 Midwestern states received reports from people who claimed to see a huge cigar-shaped object in the sky. The first reports came from people in Omaha, Nebraska. More than 100 people agreed that they saw an oblong craft about 12 feet long. It was reported to be shiny and likely made of steel. Some said it so lit up the night sky that livestock awakened thinking it was morning. A few nights later, people in Sioux City, Iowa, reported the same kind of sighting. In these reports, a new element was added. Many said the craft made a hissing sound. Now, all of these reports happened 6 years before the Wright brothers' first successful flight of the Wright Flyer, a craft not metal, not shaped like a cigar, but more a controlled glider. During the next quarter of a century, the number of sightings of strange objects mostly seen in rural America would increase. But as we mentioned, the United States was not the only place people were seeing unidentified things in the night sky. Now, we have to remember the term UFO applies to all unidentified things that fly or hover in the sky. Certainly one of the most publicized, strangest, documented, and scariest sightings of the last century happened in the darkest days of World War I. 4 French soldiers reportedly saw a super bright stationary light in the sky. They were in such awe of the light, a kind that none of them had seen before with an indefinable color, that they threw down their weapons and abandoned their posts. Assigned to defend the soldiers during their court-martial, a young military lawyer admitted he didn't believe what his clients were saying as to why they went AWOL, but would defend them anyway. Ironically, on the night before the trial, the military-appointed lawyer had his own paranormal experience and eventually said he came to grips with the fact that there are many things in nature we cannot understand. Later it was discovered that several German soldiers saw the same massive stationary light at the same time on the same night, causing them to flee their posts in fear. The incident was widely reported and even the subject of an episode of the TV show One Step Beyond in the 1960s.